A few days ago, I compared the Tab S9 Plus to the 11-inch iPad Pro, but I got a few comments saying that a better comparison would be with the 12.9-inch model because, for one, they're closer in size. And while that's true, there are some things that are a little confusing, and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring a portion of this video. So back to the size, when you have these tablets side by side in portrait mode, you can see that they're pretty much the same height, but the iPad is noticeably wider. It's also a little bit thicker and heavier, but not really something that would make a meaningful difference in terms of portability. These are both premium flagship tablets, so as you would expect, the build quality is excellent and I haven't had any type of issues with bending. I do like the fact that both the Tab S9 Plus and the S Pen, which we'll talk about in just a minute, both have an IP68 rating, so I know I'm getting protection from water and dust. Looking at the overall design, there's lots of similarities. So we're getting rounded corners, squared off edges, and there are 4 speakers, so we're getting very good sound, at least for tablets. Now, typically, I find it pretty easy to pick a winner, but this was a really close call, so here's a sound test and let me know which one you think sounds better.
I didn't want to see the one inside, and now I pay the price, yeah. I didn't want to see the one inside, and now I pay the price, yeah. It hits me like a tidal wave every time you say my name. It's me like a tidal wave every time you say my name.
Now, continuing around the edges, both tablets have USB-C ports for charging and connecting accessories. The one on the Tab S9 Plus is 3.2, and the one on the iPad Pro is a more powerful Thunderbolt 4 port, which has faster transfer speeds. This isn't going to matter to the majority of users, but if you're a creator, if you're a photographer, or if you're anyone who regularly transfers a lot of files to and from the tablet, you'll definitely appreciate having the faster transfer speeds on the iPad Pro. Now, an advantage of the Tab S9 Plus is that it has a micro SD card slot, so I can relatively inexpensively expand the internal storage by up to 1 terabyte. It also means that I have the flexibility of not getting all the storage I need right away if I can't afford it. I can just buy the tablet now and then add storage when my budget allows for it. And I can use the micro SD storage for files, for photos, for videos, and for most apps. We see some more separation when we look at biometric authentication, where the iPad uses Face ID and the Tab S9 Plus offers a great under-display fingerprint sensor and then a less secure face recognition option. All 3 choices work well for me, so it's really gonna come down to whether you want the more secure facial biometric with the iPad or the versatility of multiple options with the Tab S9 Plus. Now let's get to one of the most important features in a tablet, the display. So the Tab S9 Plus has a 12.4-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display with a resolution of 1752 by 2800, a 16 by 10 aspect ratio, 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate, and 266 pixels per inch. The iPad Pro has a larger 12.9-inch Liquid Retina XDR display with a high resolution of 2048 by 2732, an aspect ratio of 4:3, 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate, and a pixel density of 265 pixels per inch. So both displays are great. Let's just get that out of the way. You're not gonna get either one of these and think that they're terrible displays. Like, these are the best displays that Apple and Samsung have to offer in a tablet. And of course, if you wanna see this iPad compared with the larger Tab S9 Ultra, I'll link to that video at the end of this one. Now, the way I would choose between these two is based on what you plan on doing. If you're watching content, you're getting essentially the same size image with both devices with just larger black bars on the iPad Pro. And that's not really something that bothers me because I'm not looking at the part of the screen that's black. Another thing to think about is that the iPad Pro is brighter for both SDR and HDR content, which doesn't really matter if you're indoors, but if you have to deal with reflections or if you work outside, it's always nice to have that additional brightness. Now, when you hold each tablet in portrait mode, you'll be able to see more content on the iPad without having to scroll. And actually, the same is true even in landscape mode. In terms of image quality, both are exceptional. Like, really, what both companies did here is very impressive. And the one advantage that I'm going to give Samsung is that you can get this same type of display on the smaller Tab S9 or the larger Tab S9 Ultra. And with Apple, you can only get this display on the 12.9-inch model. But again, back to these two specific displays, you really can't go wrong. And speaking of places where you can't go wrong, if you're looking for some great deals on tech, check out today's sponsor, Best Buy, and their top deals. They have some amazing daily and weekly top deals. Best Buy has great prices and even a price match guarantee. But with the holidays right around the corner, you can actually get the best deals on the hottest products by downloading the Best Buy app. You can also get first look at Best Buy drops, which means you'll be getting better savings on hot or limited inventory products. And my Best Buy members get exclusive offers on thousands of products. Like, check out this 65-inch 8K mini LED TV. It's on sale for $2,100, but my Best Buy members get an additional $700 off. Plus, if you shop in store, you can just have a blue shirt scan your digital member ID from the app, and all of your in-store purchases are attached to your My Best Buy account. So if you want to save some money on a gift or something for yourself, make sure that you first check out Best Buy's top deals, and thank you to Best Buy for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now, when we talk about this level of tablets, another important consideration is the ability to expand functionality by adding a keyboard case and a stylus. There's some really interesting implications here. Starting with keyboard options, the iPad Pro is compatible with Apple's larger Magic Keyboard and also some excellent third-party options. The Tab S9 Plus is compatible with two different versions of the book cover keyboard from Samsung, but keep in mind that you can't use the keyboards from the Tab S7 Plus or the Tab S8 Plus because the camera modules are different and they won't fit. And then finally, of course, you can use an external Bluetooth keyboard with both tablets. Now, personally, I prefer the feel of the keys on the Magic Keyboard, and the trackpad is definitely better. It also has a USB-C pass-through, so you can charge the iPad while still being able to connect accessories. The Tab S9 Plus keyboards do a much better job at securing the S Pen, so it doesn't fall off when it's in my bag, and there's a full row of function keys. Now, moving on to the stylus options, the iPad Pro is compatible with the second generation Apple Pencil. It pairs wirelessly, it can be stored and charged on the side of the iPad, and it costs $130. The Tab S9 Plus comes with a free S Pen, which also pairs wirelessly. It can be stored on the side or the back of the Tab S9 Plus, but it will only charge on the back. Now, you're able to assign functions to the button on the S Pen, which is similar to Apple's double tap functionality, but the S Pen also has several Bluetooth functions, so you can use it to take pictures, control media playback, and for several other useful tasks. Now, the S Pen doesn't need to be charged in order to write or draw. It's only for the Bluetooth functions, whereas the Apple Pencil does need to be charged in order to function at all. Now, realistically, this isn't a very meaningful difference to me because my Apple Pencil is always charging while it's being stored and the battery lasts forever, but it's still something that I wanted to mention. Now, both stylus options offer very low latency, but the feeling of writing or drawing is actually quite different. The Apple Pencil has a firm tip, so it's a little harsher when it hits the glass, and it feels like you're writing or drawing on a single sheet of paper that's placed on a hard surface. The S Pen has a softer tip, so when it hits the glass, it gives a little. It feels more like you're writing on a full pad of paper where the pages compress as you press down. Now, one isn't objectively better than the other for every use case, and it's really going to come down to which one feels better for you, so hopefully this description was helpful. Another area where we see some important differences is when we look at apps and long-term support. I'm not going to get into iPad OS versus Android. Both operating systems are very powerful and they have their strengths and weaknesses, and that really belongs in a separate video. There are lots of apps in the Galaxy, Google Play Store, and the Apple App Store, so the majority of users are easily going to find what they need. Now, some creative-specific apps like Affinity Photo and Procreate are only available for the iPad, so if those are absolutely necessary for your workflow, then go ahead and get the iPad. If you don't need them, then that's not really a deciding factor for you. LumaFusion, which has historically been an iPad-only app, is now available for Android, which is great news, but another advantage for the iPad is that now you can use Final Cut Pro. Now, for taking notes, Notability is only available for iPad, but GoodNotes has an Android version, and Samsung Notes is actually an outstanding option, and it comes included with the Tab S9 Plus. Now, overall, I have to give the edge to the iPad Pro because almost every app is optimized for a tablet, and with the Tab S9 Plus, a lot of the apps are just stretched out versions of the phone apps. As far as operating system support, Apple has always provided excellent long-term support. And while Samsung now offers 4 years of OS updates and 5 years of security updates, Apple still has the advantage here if that's a priority for you. Looking at the camera systems, both tablets have an ultra-wide 12-megapixel front-facing camera. The iPad Pro can record at up to 1080p 60 60, the Tab S9 Plus can go up to 4K 30, and here's a quick sample. Here's a camera and microphone test of the Tab S9 Plus and the 12.9-inch M2 iPad Pro. This should give you a pretty good idea of the type of image quality that you're going to get and the type of audio quality that you should expect. Now for video calls, I prefer the placement of the camera on the Tab S9 Plus because it's in the center of the long edge, so I'm always properly framed, and it appears as if I'm looking at the person that I'm talking to. On the iPad Pro, because the camera is on the short side, when I'm watching the screen, the camera is off to my left, and then it looks like I'm looking away from the person that I'm talking to. Now moving on to the rear-facing camera modules, the Tab S9 Plus has a 13 megapixel wide and an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera versus a 12 megapixel wide and a 10 megapixel ultra-wide on the iPad Pro. Both tablets have a flash, but the iPad Pro also includes a LiDAR scanner, which is great for autofocus in low light and for augmented reality apps. Now, both tablets also have some excellent multitasking capabilities. With the iPad Pro, you can have two apps open side by side. In split view, you can have slide over windows and you can have a pop-up window in the center. The Tab S9 Plus allows you to have three tiled apps open at the same time. You can resize each window to get the configuration that works best for you, and you can still have pop-up windows. Now, both tablets can also be used as a second display for your laptop or desktop. Apple calls this feature Sidecar, and Samsung calls it Second Screen. Now, an important advantage of the Tab S9 Plus, and for that matter, the Tab S9 and the Tab S9 Ultra, is that you can reboot it in DeX mode, which basically gives you a desktop-like user interface with a taskbar, desktop icons, and floating windows. You can even pair a keyboard, a mouse, and an external monitor for an extremely powerful dual display setup. Now, Apple did release Stage Manager for the iPad Pro, which is an improvement. It means that you can finally connect to an external display without black bars on the left and the right. You can also extend your desktop to the external display and move apps and windows to it for a true dual display setup. It's great to see that Apple continues to improve the capabilities of the iPad, and I love how fluid and seamless multitasking is. I also like the larger display, and with the Tab S9 Plus, you can have more tiled apps open at the same time, and it has DeX, so I would consider it the more capable multitasking option, but it would ultimately come down to what you prioritize and which ecosystem you're in. Now, as far as configuration options, the iPad Pro comes with the M2 chip, which is the most powerful chip in any tablet. Every model up to 512 gigabytes of storage comes with 8 gigs of RAM, and the 1 and 2 terabyte models come with 16 gigs of RAM. The Tab S9 Plus comes with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip, and both the 256 and the 512 gigabyte models come with 12 gigs of RAM. Now, let's quickly look at benchmarks for those of you who are interested, and it's no surprise that the iPad Pro comes out ahead for single-core performance and that the gap increases even more for multi-core performance and GPU performance. Now, not everyone is editing 8K video on their tablet, so sheer processing power may not be the most important factor for you, but all things being equal, having additional headroom in terms of performance just means that the device will continue to work great for your needs as time goes on. And one thing is for sure, the Samsung upgrade to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip improves battery life on this year's Samsung tablets. How much screen on time you actually get from your tablet really depends on what you do. For me, the Tab S9 Plus has lasted a few hours longer during a typical day of use. And when connected to a high-capacity charger, the iPad charged in approximately 2 hours, which is about 10 minutes faster than the Tab S9 Plus. Now, I do a lot of gaming on my tablets, and I've had a ton of fun playing games on both of these. Now, obviously, both chips are extremely capable, so basic games aren't going to be a challenge, but even more demanding games like PUBG, COD Mobile, and Genshin Impact run very smoothly on both devices. Playing PUBG, I could go up to 90 frames per second on both tablets with graphics set to smooth, or all the way up to Ultra HD for graphics and Ultra for frame rate. In terms of gaming performance, I'm going to give the edge to the iPad Pro because it has additional headroom in terms of performance, and it will continue to perform better for longer as games become more and more demanding. In terms of handling, they're close enough in terms of width to where handling feels pretty much the same, and the Tab S9 Plus is a little bit lighter, but it's really not a huge difference. When I want to play cloud-based games, then I just pair my Xbox controller, and then I can play any game that's available with the Xbox Game Pass app. In that context, I'm primarily using the tablet as a display, so I prefer the larger iPad iPad Pro. Now, when we look at pricing, we see some extremely important differences. Now, I'm going to use the prices off of the Apple and Samsung stores because they're standardized, but you can usually find better prices by using the links in the description. So the iPad Pro starts out at $1,199 and the Tab S9 Plus starts out at $999. But keep in mind that the iPad Pro starts out with 128 gigabytes of storage versus 256 gigabytes on the Tab S9 Plus. And right now, using the links in the description, you can actually get 512 gigabytes on the Tab S9 Plus for the same price. And that's going to cost you $1,399 on the iPad. If you need a lot of internal storage, the iPad Pro goes all the way up to 2 terabytes. The Tab S9 Plus maxes out at 512 gigabytes. But again, you can use the micro SD card slot for additional storage. Also remember that if you want a stylus, the S Pen is included with the price of the Tab S9 Plus, and the second generation Apple Pencil will cost you an additional $130. Now you should check out this comparison. Click on my face to subscribe. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.